facing the police every single day.
New year equals new laws. Know your rights under Florida's new texting laws. The information being provided here today may help you avoid the over-enforcement of this statute and save you some cash and an increase in your insurance rates. On May 17, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 107, Wireless Communication While Driving. The new law advances the enforcement of texting while driving from a secondary offense to a primary offense. The law also specifies that drivers cannot use their phones at all while driving in specific areas, including school crossings, school zones and work zones while workers are present. You can expect hundreds of officers to be placed in these locations looking in your car windows. This means that law enforcement officer will be stopping you solely on the suspicion of texting and driving. That means that thousands of drivers will be pulled over for doing perfectly legal activity with their phones, and many will receive bogus citations. The exceptions are if you are reporting an emergency, using a device for navigation purposes, receiving safety-related information, or conducting communication that does not require manual entry of multiple letters, numbers, or symbols. It is also legal to use your phone to listen to music, as a camera for a dash cam, or literally hundreds of other perfectly legal uses. In some areas, like here in Pinellas County, Florida, the local police and Sheriff Robert Gualtieri will use this expanding prohibition as an excuse to pull over as many people as possible to increase citation revenue, even if you may not have been doing anything illegal on your phone. My guess is you will see a press release in a few weeks bragging about how many citations they issued. Sheriff Gualtieri has his men meeting illegal quotas, calling them performance reviews. So doing nothing illegal won't stop Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies from writing you a citation anyway and forcing you to pay it or fight it in court to keep their numbers up. They will count on the fact that most people will pay it rather than taking the time to fight in the biased and rigged courts of Pinellas County. Problems with enforcement. The law, as written, is 100% reliant on the officer's ability to prove what you were doing on your phone when they observed you. That is virtually impossible. Just ask any parent with a teenager. Because the deputy is in one car and the driver in the other, the deputy can't see exactly what the driver is using the phone to do. They only know the driver is holding it, not necessarily using it. It is not a violation to simply look at your phone. It is also not a violation of this law to use a camera while driving. A phone is also a camera. The officer must prove that you were conducting manual entry of multiple letters, numbers, or symbols into the phone, or using it in a construction or school zone as a phone and not an iPod or camera. When you are pulled over, the officer will attempt to ask you a series of questions to get you to admit you violated the law. Their ability to convict you will largely be reliant on your own admissions. In most cases, it is highly advisable to state to any officer, "I don't answer questions." You are not required to answer any questions an officer asks you, and most attorneys will tell you answering any questions is a mistake. If an officer engages the driver in conversation, and the driver states that he was using it for navigation purposes, or to receive safety-related information, there can be no legitimate citation. However, it will be important that you be able to document the conversation that you have with the officer, so first step in protecting yourself from having your money taken would be to record the entire interaction with your phone. Additionally, this gives you a valid reason to decline any inspection of your phone to prevent there being any unrecorded period of the stop for your protection. "I'm sorry, officer, but I am not willing to stop recording for my protection to show you my phone." According to the actual law, see below, the officer cannot force you to allow them to take, see, view, look at, or access your phone without a warrant. If you get a bad cop on an average day, they could lie to you that if you do not let them see the phone, they will hold you there until they get a warrant, but that would violate your constitutional rights. Make them get the warrant. In the case of Rodriguez v. United States, 575 U.S., A police stop exceeding the time needed to handle the matter for which the stop was made violates the Constitution's shield against unreasonable seizures. Consequently, a traffic stop becomes unlawful if it is prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete the mission of issuing a ticket for the violation. So they cannot hold you there at the side of the road to obtain a warrant without violating your rights. Again, reinforcing the need to record the stop. So, in review, A. Record the stop from the moment you are pulled over. B. Do not answer any questions. C. Verbally assert that you were simply holding your phone for legally permitted use. And D. You do not consent to any searches of your phone under any circumstances. And don't text and drive. 316.305 Wireless communications devices, prohibition. C. A law enforcement officer who stops a motor vehicle for a violation of paragraph A must inform the motor vehicle operator of his or her right to decline a search of his or her wireless communications device and may not 1. Access the wireless communications device without a warrant. 2. Confiscate the wireless communications device while awaiting issuance of a warrant to access such device. 3. Obtain consent from the motor vehicle operator to search his or her wireless communications device through coercion or other improper method. Consent to search a motor vehicle operator's wireless communications device must be voluntary and unequivocal. Knight, Texting and Driving Law Problematic. By Tom Knight. Posted June 23, 2019 at 6:06 a.m. On May 17, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 107, Wireless Communication While Driving. The new law advances the enforcement of texting while driving from a secondary offense to a primary offense. This means that a law enforcement officer can stop you solely on the suspicion of texting and driving. The law also specifies that drivers cannot use their phones at all while driving in specific areas, including school crossings, school zones and work zones while workers are present. The latter part of the bill makes sense. Distracted driving near schools and work zones is a recipe for disaster. If your children are walking through a school crossing, do you want nearby drivers texting their bosses or co-workers as they are heading into work? What concerns me is the extreme difficulty in enforcing the first part of the law, which says law enforcement officials can conduct a traffic stop based on probable cause that you are texting, emailing, and/or instant messaging. The exceptions are if you are reporting an emergency, using a device for navigation purposes, receiving safety-related information or conducting communication that does not require manual entry of multiple letters, numbers, or symbols. So, imagine that a Sarasota County Sheriff's Office deputy notices a distracted driver, suspects that he is texting illegally, and makes a traffic stop. Because the deputy is in one car and the driver in the other, the deputy can't see exactly what the driver is using his phone to do, she only knows the driver is using it. She engages the driver in conversation, and he states that he was using it for navigation purposes, or to receive safety-related information. The deputy is not certain that his answer rings true, so she asks for and receives consent to inspect the device. My guess is that the driver is not happy about turning over his phone because of privacy concerns. Perhaps he was just texting his girlfriend and doesn't want to share the content with a stranger. And according to the law, he doesn't have to turn over his phone, which means the deputy can't establish that a violation of the law occurred. Even if the driver does provide his phone willingly, in the time it took for the deputy to walk to his car, all he needs to do is close his applications or delete his latest text messages. While this bill was written with good intention, it is far from a solution to texting while driving and is simply not enforceable. At the Sheriff's Office, we believe in rightful policing and procedural justice, neither of which encourage law enforcement to potentially violate a citizen's constitutional rights. We are extremely cognizant of the Fourth Amendment. That is why, beginning January 1, 2020, our deputies will enforce this law only when they can do so with 100% confidence. We will also continue providing education on the dangers of distracted driving through social media campaigns like our weekly Traffic Tip Tuesday. In the meantime, your best bet is to drive in a way that gives no law enforcement officer a reason to stop you in the first place. Tom Knight is the Sarasota County Sheriff.
Hey Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.